Hi there everyone. Now wax is a very important substance for bees. It is their building blocks. They use it for creating the comb that they keep their nectar, their honey, their pollen, their eggs and so on in. And wax has also become quite important to us when our ancestors discovered that beeswax made candles that were, they smelt nice, they lasted for a long time, unlike the candles they used to use, which was made out of tallow, which is animal fat. Now the wax that the bees produce, they produce it themselves by glands in their abdomen, and it's produced by young bees. I think it's about 3 days old or something like that, and they use it to build up the comb. And as well as that, once they have got the nectar converted into honey to the point where they think it's all done and dusted, they then cap over each individual cell with a little cap of wax that they've made themselves. So when beekeepers are extracting honey, they cut these little cell caps off so that they can put the frames in an extractor and spin out the honey. And this wax, which is not surprisingly called cappings wax, is left over, and there are a variety of different things that you can use it for. Now, as well as the cappings wax, there are other ways that beekeepers can recover wax for different purposes, and this blog will show you some of the ways that I do it, and also some of the things that I use the wax for.
Now I keep a bucket in my shed, and in here I collect the scraps of wax that I get from the frames, the sheets of foundation rather, that have perhaps broken or just sort of come apart for some reason. So I want to try and reuse this stuff. So what I use is this thing, which is a Bain Marie, and it's just a little kettle type thing, and in here you put water, and so the wax is, if you like, protected from the worst of the heat, and it's like the sort of thing that you use when you're melting chocolate. This thing is just a little whistle, and what I do is I put a bit of water in here first, like that, and then just put the bits of wax, this sort of stuff, put it in here, and I can't quite get everything in here, so I'm going to let it run for a while. This will start melting, then I can put the rest in, put the top on, turn it on. Okay, and it's all melted. And you can see in there, and it's not very clear. This is commercial beeswax, which is just a mixture of anything that the manufacturers can find, so it needs some filtering to use. This is just a little stand. There's a yogurt pot underneath it. That's a funnel, and it goes through kitchen cloth, just a bit of J cloth. So just pour it in. There's a lot of muck in the bottom there, and it works its way through. Because there is quite a lot of muck, the J cloth will get gummed up. So I cut a strip so that I can just move it along a little bit, so that it can get to a nice clean bit and carry on filtering. Put some more in. Yeah, that's very mucky. So it's going through the J cloth. We can just now leave it. And then once it's worked its way through, just leave the pot of molten wax, and it will solidify. Now the wax has worked its way through, and don't know if you can see this. I'll hold it up so you can see sideways on. It's quite brown. And the J cloth. You can see here the amount of what beekeepers call crap. It's filtered out, and may be necessary to do it twice, but we'll let that cool and see what we've got. It's been about 10 minutes now, and the wax has gone, as you see, very yellow. It's still quite warm and still quite soft, so I'm going to leave it there for the time being. If I hold it up, I don't know if you can see that. You see the gummy water at the bottom where some of the crap has fallen through rather than staying inside the wax. So what I'm going to do with this now is leave that until it's hard. It's still quite soft, and then we'll get out and see what we've got. Okay, it's now cooled down and hardened, and you see the water in there, and just need to sort of ease it away from the outside of the pot, cracking. I might have to give this thing a whack because sometimes they do get a bit stuck. There's the water. I'll just pour that away. The water is a bit mucky, which is good, and then there we are. And that's pretty good. That's not too bad at all, and you can see that it's quite yellowy, quite clean, and perfectly usable. Another type of wax you can retrieve is what's called brace comb, and this is comb that the bees build inside the hive, often in places where you wouldn't want them to, and it's often on top, underneath crown boards and places like that. And so I've started to collect it now, and what I'll do is I just collect it all up and just sort of squash it. It's quite soft when it comes out of the hive. It's now quite hard, and these are some sort of collections I've made of brace comb, and also there's stuff inside the hive where they've built comb where you wouldn't want them to, like they've done and here. So this should be pretty pure stuff. So what we'll do is we'll put it in the Bain Marie and melt it down. Okay, yeah, it's melted. It's very gooey. You see all that stuff in there. Some of this I think has had brood in it, so there'll be pupae chrysalis or chrysali, whatever it is, in there. So this is going to be a bit mucky to clean. So we'll give it a go. Usual thing, bam, with a filter and the J cloth. Oops, idiot. That goes underneath. That's it. There's so much goo in it, I'm just going to do a little bit at a time. And it's coming through okay. Let's have a look. You can see, oh, ouch, that is a little pupae, and there's a few of those in there, so that explains why it's so mucky. and I'll just, like I did before, just move it along a little bit. There's more muck than wax in here, and I need to go and get a spoon just to get rid of some of this muck that's in there. Yeah, there we are. There's all the muck that's in there, little pupae, and just general muck. So I'll just spoon that out. Move it along a little bit. I don't think we're going to get a great deal of wax out of this, but never mind, just so you can see the principle behind it. Yeah. Yeah, we're not going to get very much out of this at all, but perhaps you can just see from the side of the spoon here where it started to cool down already. It's nice and yellow. So we'll leave it for a little while just to drain through. It's nearly cooled down now, but if you just have a look at it, this is the muck that I scraped out of it, and look at that, how yellow that is. So what I'm going to do is let it cool off and try and pick this out to use. Now this is the funnel that I used, and look how yellow it is. And what I'll do is I'll just warm that up, liquefy it, so it goes in with the other stuff, which is ridiculously yellow. Underneath, you might be able to see sort of the mucky water, where some of the muck has just not got caught up in the wax, but in the water, so that'll make the wax a little bit better. So that's not too bad. One source of wax is the broken up frames that you sometimes get, and you can get things like this, which is an old super, and the wax has been bashed out. I don't know, it could be a mouse or something like that, so we'd want to get that wax. And also there are things like this. These are old brood frames where the wax has got horrible and dirty, and the bees, or the queen in particular, wouldn't want to use it, but there is obviously wax in here somewhere which we need to get out and clean. And there's a variety of different ways you can do this, and what I use is this thing here, which is a steam wax melter, and it is a brood box. There's a lot of bees around today. They've discovered they can smell it in there. This is an old brood box with a standard mesh floor underneath it, and underneath that is a metal tray, and into here we put the old frames that we want to clean out. That one's just a bit grubby. That's very grubby indeed. You can see how mucky that is. So what you do is you put all the frames in here. There's a roof, and then over here this is a machine that you use to clean carpets and curtains, and possibly getting wallpaper off, and it's a steamer. And so the machine, this thing heats up, boils the water goes through a pipe. This pipe is then connected to here, so you put steam into here, and it melts the wax, and it will go through the mesh floor at the bottom, and hopefully finish up in the tray beneath. So I'm going to turn it on. It takes a little while to get set up, and we'll be back when things get underway. Right, the steam's been going for a little while and you can hear it rumbling in there. Yep, and you can possibly hear it from here and see it coming out the little venti thing. So in a little while I'll open it up, and I cannot imagine what these bees are doing here. Silly things. Anyway, we'll check back in a little while. Okay, it's been bubbling away quite happily for, ow, it's hot, a little while now. So I will turn the thing off, pull the plug out, and take the roof off. And you see the steam escaping. Oh God. So we'll let that sort of die down for a little while. We'll just have a look at the frames and see what's on them. They're very hot, and you can see nothing. There's a few sort of chrysalis things down here. Can you see that all right? Yep. They'll dry up and harden up, and that one same thing, and they all got pretty much nothing on them. All the wax has melted and or in this case fallen to pieces. The frame, this one, yep, this one's got the wobbly, you can see the sort of wobbly chrysalis things, and there's a lot of it in here. Just lift them all out, you can see. Once they've dried out and hardened off, they'll be fairly easy to get rid of, and I'll just, you can see they're all much the same. Yep. That one's got nothing on it at all, just a wire that was inside the frame. There we go. Now let's get these out of the way. Run this over, and there we are. We have the frame at the bottom. I'll just lift it up so you can see. Whoop. And you can see all the yellowy wax that's there. Lots of brood cell things there. So you can see there's some nice yellow wax coming out of what look to be fairly horrible frames. And underneath it here, this is the a tray, and whoops, let's see if I can hold this up so you can see it. You can see all the wax that's on there, so I can just drain off all the water and collect up the wax, and then what we'll do is we'll run it through the Bain Marie. I've filtered the wax that was on the tray thing over there. He's just trying to turn it around, and that's what we're left with, and a lot of it is very nice and yellow. There is a lot still of the sort of pupae casings, these things here, which isn't going to be a problem, and I'll put it all through the Bain Marie. We'll have to do it in 2 batches, and hopefully we'll get some nice yellow wax out of it. Okay, it's been boiling away quite happily now, and it looks a bit gloopy, doesn't it? There's lots of sort of chrysalis things in there, which we'll strain out using our old friend the Bain Marie. So I'll just pour this in, and filter it out. So I did get 2 batches out of it eventually, and the water at the bottom, as you can see, is very grubby, so a lot of the muck will have dropped down into the water and won't be in the wax, and the other one's the same. So just a question of easing it out, which isn't always so easy. I just pour the water out and give it a whack. Okay. There is some muck at the bottom there, but I'll scrape that out. The other one, same thing. Pour the water out, give it a whack. Yeah. And the same thing. It's got some residue there, which is probably proper, so I'll scrape that off. But 2 blocks of wax, very usable, and yeah, I think we could almost make candles out of that. So this is the wax that I've got out. This is the wax that I've produced from using the wax steamer. This was the wax that was by recycling the smashed up and broken frames. And this stuff here is the brace comb. And I have to say, I've never seen anything quite so orange as that. Anyway, it's all very usable, rather. And so next, what do I use it for? So once I've got the wax, what do I do with it? Well, you can use it for sort of general maintenance around the hive. And as an example, this is a frame that's going to go into my top bar hive. These are very simple things. You don't put frames in like you would do in say a national hive. And at the simplest, you just lay a wooden bar across and the bees build the comb underneath it. But what I do is I put a little bit of wax sheet in there, and they use that as a starter, and eventually they will build comb which will look like that huge big sort of almost semicircular shape thing. And the bar has a groove going down the middle of it. The wax gets pressed into it and held in place by melted wax, which is just drizzled down here. So you can use it for other things like that. As well as that, your beekeepers will make, not surprisingly, candles. A popular sort is what I call the church candles. These are the long thin things, and they are far too much work for me, and I can't be bothered. You can also produce wax sheets which you then roll, and they're far too much work for me, and I can't be bothered. So what I do is I make very simple little candles using latex molds, and they are of dogs, cats and little things like that, and I usually just finish up giving them away to kids. The other classic thing that beekeepers will use wax for is to make beeswax furniture polish. Very simple thing to make. Obviously you use the wax, you add to it something called carnauba wax, which is quite a rare type of wax and is used in the very highest quality car wax polishes even. And I make some of that, and I never sell any. I also make last year's fad, which is the beeswax food wraps, and I use wax to impregnate the cotton sheets which people use to wrap around food containers. And I also use the wax in my propolis tincture. It's a base. The olive oil that's added to it keeps it as a sort of soft paste, and that's it. So thanks for watching.